What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy Zevy here, aka Depressed Angry Birds Conspiracy Theorist here, back at it again to drop What If Deku and Bakugo Fused? A long time ago, I ended up making a video titled What If Naruto and Sasuke Fused? It ended up getting a lot of views, so I figured I would milk this train until it was all gone. No, I'm totally kidding. I ended up getting a lot of great ideas for this scenario, and I just had to drop this series. So I promise, guys, with this series in particular, I will be finishing it to the max. There's going to be at least 6 parts to this series, so if you guys do end up enjoying part 1, then please do make sure to smash the like button, because the goal today will be 5 likes, and if you guys hit that like goal, you guys will receive 1 free cookie. Who doesn't want a cookie? So yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the intro and then get started.
Hey Ross, sauce it up.
Okay, so we start off our story in the perspective of a young Izuku. Now Izuku would be walking behind 3 of his friends, childhood friends at that, as Bakugo would be yelling, "March! March! March!" You know, all of them are basically walking behind Bakugo. Bakugo's over there telling everybody to, follow him and that he's gonna take them to victory. They would have been playing some weird childhood game at this point, and Bakugo would have simply been walking around shooting explosions from his hand saying, "Isn't my quirk so great?" At this point, Deku would say, "Wow, Kachan, I wish someday I can have a quirk just like yours." As Bakugo would say, "Izuku, you'll never have a quirk like mine, you Deku." As Deku would be like, okay. He would basically proceed to keep walking, and it's at this point that Bakugo would walk over a bridge. Now, it's at this point that Bakugo would end up overlooking the bridge and would literally fall off into the water. Immediately, Deku would rush over to Bakugo's direction, being like, "Are you okay, Kachan?" And at this point, he would touch Bakugo's hand. Bakugo would have been staring at Deku at this moment, being like, "How dare this quirkless loser," before he can even register what just happened. And I'm guessing many of you guys know what moment this is. It's when Deku helps Bakugo out of the water, yada yada yada. So as this is happening, Deku would grab Bakugo's hand, and as soon as they touch, a huge glow would literally just start emanating from the body of Deku and Bakugo, as both of their bodies would quite literally float into the air. As both of their bodies are glowing a weird aura, they would then collide into each other as they would fuse and fall back onto the ground. It's at this point that the other 2 boys would be like, "What?" As it would literally be revealed that Bakugo and Deku are both gone, and in their place, some kid is just sitting there. Now immediately both of them would be like, "What did you do with Bakugo?" They wouldn't even be paying any mind to Izuku, as Bakugo and Izuku would both stand up and like, what? They would look at those 2 kids as they're like, "Who are you guys again?" As the kids would be like, "Huh?" And at this point, Bakugo and Deku would both kind of like look at each other at their hands as they're like, "What's going on?" Now, at this point, I'm pretty sure many of you guys are like, "Yo, they fuse with like, how did they fuse?" Well, let me explain. At the beginning of the video, I was honestly going to be using Potara fusion as the means of their fusion and all this crazy stuff. But instead, I decided to pretty much give Deku a quirk. Now, this quirk is going to be a fusion one, and the doctors won't be able to identify it. So they're going to be thinking that it was some random cause that ended up causing this to happen. Now, at this point, they're like, "What do we even call you?" And like it would literally look at their direction as he's like, "Call me Dekugo." As they're like, "Yeah, Dekugo, that's the name." As they proceed to just simply like stand up, and at this point they're looking at their hands, just wondering what's going on. Now, it's not like some crazy dire situation where this fusion took place in the middle of some heated battle against Majin Buu or something like that, and they understood what they were doing. This happened out of nowhere. Both of their consciousness fused, and Deku and Bakugo are no more. It's a whole different person. Now, at this point, Dekugo, or whatever, which is I'm going to be referring to during the beginning, because trust me, that's a horrible name. This is just the name that they gave themselves. We're going to be renaming them later on, all right? So let's just say that Dekugo basically ends up doing, all this crazy stuff. And after this, they basically end up running over to Mitsuki's house, aka Bakugo's mom. they would go there, and as soon as she sees this, she would scream. She'd be like, ah, you know what I mean? Like she yells out, and the husband comes running in, Bakugo's dad, as he's like, we gotta take you to the quirk doctor. Immediately, they would be told the story by the other two kids, and they would call Inko and Hisashi over to the hospital. Where at this point, everything would be in confusion and chaos. Now, when they do end up making it to the hospital, one of the doctors would end up explaining that they have no idea what happened, but one thing is for sure, they fused. And it seems as if Deku and Bakugo's consciousness fused to create a brand new one. This isn't Deku or Bakugo anymore. This is a completely different person. As it's at this point that we would proceed to have like so many different things happen. You know what I mean? Like all of them are just like, what? Like what do we do? You know what I mean? And it's at this point that the doctors would literally look at them and say, well, I don't know what to do. You guys will most likely have to sign some paperwork to see who takes custody of the child from now on. And it's at this point that Inko would say, oh, Izuku, come home with me. Let's go. As Mitsuki is like, yo, you got me all the way messed up. Bakugo is coming home with me. And at this point, they would both look at the child as they're like, as the kid is just looking at both of the moms bickering. They're like, stop. And the kid is like, I don't even know my name yet. As Inko and Mitsuki would both be like, what should we name him? As it's at this point that both of them would end up saying, all right, look, how about we combine both of their last names? And they're like, okay, you know, that doesn't sound like a bad idea. So the name that they end up giving Deku and Bakugo is Katsuya. That is the name that Bakugo and Deku fusion is going to be happening. But I'm not going to be referring to them as Katsuya during this entire series. I'm literally going to be saying Deku the whole entire time, because it's what if Deku and Bakugo fused, and I don't want to have to say Katsuya every single time or Bakugo every single time. So I'm going to say Deku for the purpose of the story. However, guys, just do remember that it's going to be referring to Bakugo and Deku as a fusion. Now, after this, they would have a quirk test done on them, and Deku would proceed to shoot an explosion from his hand. Now, when he shoots the explosion, it would be very, very powerful, like hugely powerful, because the fusion actually ended up giving them a 10 times boost to their power that they already had. So the quirk became amplified tenfold, and now the quirk was way too hard and powerful to control for Deku. So at this point, Deku and, Bakugo ended up being told that they're going to be needing to work on this quirk of theirs in order for it not to destroy them. And this would cause this whole entire new personality of like Bakugo's like anger and cockiness, and Deku's fear and like overthinkingness or no analytical mindset to kind of like fuse into one, as it would like nod and understand what he needs to do. At this point, Deku would proceed to essentially look at Mitsuki as Inko, look at Mitsuki and Inko, as they would both pretty much just decide that they're going to be splitting custody of Izuku and Deku mixed into one person, meaning Katsuya. And so with that being said, they basically end up taking Deku for the half of the week, and then Bakugo for the other half of the week. Now, I know I ended up saying that I was going to be referring to Katsuya as Deku or for the whole series, but even I can't keep it up. It just feels weird having to refer to Deku and Bakugo every single time. So I'm actually going to be using the name Katsuya. Now, at this point, Katsuya would basically end up becoming a perfect hero in a sense. Because I don't know if you guys have ever thought about this, but Deku always had the heart of a hero. He always had the pure mindset of becoming a hero. And Bakugo always had, well, the strength of a hero. Even when we can see Bakugo doing things like in the provisional license exam, when he ended up saving people, he did save them, but he was really aggressive, and it kind of seemed like he was filling more of an endeavor role where he saved people, but he didn't kind of like calm their minds or make them feel better. But Deku, when he saves people with a smile. He's happy. He's kind of like letting people know they're safe. So mixing all that together, we get a hero along the lines of All Might, somebody who's going to become a perfect hero one day. And with that said, with both of their natures mixing into one another, this creates a super overpowered, super like really OP and also cool overpowered hero. Now, when they do end up basically going back into their into their kid forms, I guess you could say. When no, not kid forms, but school. What ends up happening is when they walk into the classroom, all of the kids look at them and they're like, "So, what do we call you?" Immediately, Katsuya would look at the classes. He's like, "Just call me Katsuya," as they'd be like, "Okay." Now, at this point, he would grow up among all of his classmates, and the first couple of like weeks were so strange because they were like, Deku and Katsuya would look at them and be like, "No, call me Katsuya." At this point, they'd be like, "Okay, Katsuya," as they proceed to just look at Katsuya as he grows up and he proceeds to train his quirk over the weekends every single day. Not every single day, but every single weekend they would train on their quirk, controlling it and making it so that they have full control over that quirk that they were given to them. And when they grow up, they end up having a pretty cool childhood because they're a really nice person who also has a lot of confidence. So growing up, if you guys can put this all together, he would grow up in a quirk society where he has a very powerful quirk and a very heroic heart and mindset. So Katsuya would always stay at the top of his class when it comes to grades. He would always be very popular and liked by many of the students. And when it comes to how Deku fares outside of school, Deku would have a pretty cool relationship with his parents because after like a couple of months or so, they ended up getting used to this whole routine of switching back and forth. And now Deku literally has two families, or Katsuya literally has two families, right? So Katsuya is pretty happy. He's having a pretty good life as it stands. And so with that, we're going to be skipping over to middle school, where during middle school, he ended up enrolling in a bunch of sport teams and ended up becoming the captain of the soccer and basketball team, where he ended up leading their teams to the finals, state finals. And Deku is basically just this really liked person overall, aka Katsuya. Sorry if I mess up and say Deku, Bakugo, Katsuya. You guys should know what I mean, right? They fuse, right? So yeah. Anyways, with that said, they basically all end up kind of like growing up together. Deku and all of his friends that he would have had normally would have ended up basically like just fusing into one big pile of bunch. Like Bakugo's goons ended up becoming pretty good friends with Katsuya as the years went on. And seeing as Bakugo wasn't influencing his friends to become these bad apples, I guess you could say, they ended up growing up to become like pretty heroic. They ended up going to their own wanting to go to their own different hero high schools together, and Bakugo was going to be enrolling into UA, aka Katsuya. You guessed it. So with that all said, we can finally now skip over to the day of the middle school sludge incident. And with that, we have the teacher walking into the classroom saying, "Now guys, settle down, settle down, settle down." He would look towards the back of the class as he would see Katsuya laying down, kind of just like with his head leaned back and laying back in the desk, you know, something that Bakugo would do. As he would look at the direction, smile, and like kind of like wave his hand at Katsuya as he would nod, acknowledging the teacher, and the teacher would then proceed to say, "Well, normally guys, I would make you guys do a bunch of career aptitude tests," to which the students all go, until he finally looks at them and says, "But I know you all want to become heroes," as he would throw the papers into the air, and the class would start erupting with their quirks. They would all start showing everything off as all of them looked towards Katsuya's direction. Katsuya would smile and have a smirk on his face as he's like, "All of us are gonna become heroes someday," as all the class would go haywire, and the teacher would say, yeah, all of you guys have very impressive quirks. He would read off to the class that Katsuya actually wants to go to the national school, aka UA. And at this point, the class would be like, "Katsuya's definitely gonna make it. He's gonna become the #1 hero someday." As some people in the class would start muttering how it's crazy how Deku and Bakugo fused one day, and now they're this incredible person. As people just start like nodding their heads, they're like, and Deku and Bakugo internally, well, since their consciousness is technically gone, wouldn't technically be able to react to this, but Katsuya would look at them kind of like with a weird stare and be like, "Yeah." As class is dismissed, he would grab all of his book bags and his friends would invite him to go to the arcade after school. Katsuya would be like, "Nah man, I actually got too much homework to do. I'll see you guys tomorrow though." As they proceed to look at him and be like, "Whatever." They would walk away as they're like, "Have a good day, man." Deku would fist bump both of his friends as he would say, "Yeah, you guys too." He would look at the time, noticing that it's actually a little later than he would like, as he would proceed to simply look at the watch and be like, "Oh yeah, I gotta get home. My mom's birthday today. She's gonna kill me." He would proceed to basically begin to rush straight in through this tunnel, as out of nowhere from the sewage, this random green sludge would appear from nowhere, and it would jump out into the air as it would say, "Give me your body, kid." But before I continue on with the story, I need to tell you all about fandom. At this point, many of you guys might be like, fandom? What even is that? Well, let me tell you. Fandom is an anime merch company which you guys can go to by clicking on the link down below in the description. By clicking that link, it will take you guys to a website where you guys can choose from a variety of anime merch apparel. They have literally everything, ranging from Demon Slayer, My Hero Academia, Naruto, Dragon Ball, and essentially just a bunch of shonen animes that you guys all watch and probably love. Up on screen right now, you guys should be seeing just a little bit of some of the options that fandom has in store for you guys. So if you guys were to look, probably up on screen, you guys will see some video that has a bunch of fandom's merch on it. Now, using the code ZETHER, which is down below in the description, you guys can even get an extra 10% off of anything that you guys buy on fandom, and you guys can treat yourselves or treat a family member to some gifts from fandom. With that being said though, guys, I do hope you guys go down below and check out the sponsors, because it does help out the channel. And with that said, let's get back into the what if. As I said before, the sludge villain would look at Katsuya's direction as it would say, "Give me your body, kid. I didn't know that freak was in town." At this point, Katsuya would jump up into the air as he would shoot explosions at the ground, and the sludge monster would look as Katsuya is literally flying off the ground, shooting explosions to keep himself there. The sludge villain would look at him as it would try to stretch its arm out and pretty much just swap him out of the air to take his body. But at this point, Bakugo or Katsuya would remain into the air as the sludge villain would be like, "You damn bastard." He would say, "Give me your body now, kid. I need it. That freak is here. I didn't know All Might was here." Katsuya, hearing this, sharing both of the love that Deku and Bakugo has together for All Might, would say, "All Might," as he would jump down to the ground and look behind the sludge villain, as the sludge villain would literally shiver in fear, as you can just hear All Might going, "Texas Smash!" He would throw a gigantic blow at the sludge villain's direction, which would cause the sludge villain to splatter all over the walls. And after this, we would basically have Katsuya looking at All Might in all of his glory, as he quite literally proceeds to immediately grab his backpack, take out a book, and be like, "All Might, I am your biggest fan. It would mean the world to me if you were to sign my book. And I please have your autograph." All Might would look at Katsuya's direction as he's like, "Weren't you just flying, kid?" Katsuya would look at All Might and say, "Oh yeah, it's my quirk. Sorry, but this villain tried to catch me and I figured I would just keep my distance until a pro arrived." All Might would say, "You did the right thing, kid. You stalled him just enough." He would say, "Of course you can have my autograph." As he would say, "So kid, how does your quirk work?" Immediately Katsuya would be like, "Well, it basically works in the sense that I have explosions. I produce nitroglycerin from my body that can explode." All Might, hearing this, would be like, "That's amazing, kid." He would look at the sludge villain as he would say, "Mind helping me out?" And Deku would look at Bakugo's direction, or no, not Bakugo, but Katsuya would look at All Might's direction as he would say, "Sure thing, All Might." He would proceed to start helping All Might bottle up the sludge villain, as All Might would have a big bright smile on his face. And at this point, All Might would realize one thing. He made a mistake. His big All Might form would quite literally go up into smoke as he would cough out blood, and Katsuya would see as All Might would shrink to a shell of what he normally looks like. After seeing this, he'd be like, "What? Who are you?" As All Might would be like, "Don't worry, kid. It's still me." He would look at Katsuya's direction as he would say, "It's still me, kid." And Katsuya would be like, "What's going on?" As All Might would explain that long ago he ended up receiving an injury that caused him to only be able to remain in his big form for a couple of hours. Explained that it's kind of like how guys in the pool flex and tuck in their stomachs to appear bigger. He would say, "I'm just like that." As Deku would be like, "What?" And at this point, Katsuya would just be shocked. Also, guys, if there is a little bit of background noise, apologies for that. But with that being said, what basically ends up happening is Katsuya would look at All Might as he would say, "Is there any way I can help you?" As All Might would just look at Katsuya and be like, there might just be." At this point, Deku would look at All Might's direction with a weird stare. He would just be like, "Huh?" As All Might would say, "Meet me at this location tomorrow, kid. I want to talk to you, maybe train you up a little bit." Now, after Katsuya hears this, he's like, oh, of course. He writes down the address immediately and says, see you there, All Might. As All Might would basically grab the Sludge villain and walk off towards the police department. At this point, Katsuya would jump up into the air being like, whoa! As that, ladies and gentlemen, is where What If Deku and Bakugo Fused Part 1 is going to be ending. If you guys do want a part 2 for this story, then definitely make sure to go down below and smash the like button of 5 likes. If you guys do that, I will promise to give you guys a cookie each. I'm telling you guys, I can obviously send a cookie to each one of you guys all around the world. Trust me, this is no scam, no lies, trust. Anyways though, if you guys did enjoy today's part, then definitely make sure to go down below, subscribe, leave a like on the video, and turn on those post notifications so you guys are informed when part 2 drops. With that being said though guys, I love each and every single one of you guys. Thank you for watching today's video. It has been your boy Zether, and I am out. Peace.